Welcome back to another edition of the Pagcast. I'm your host, Michael Pagcast, joined alongside Sudbury Wolves play-by-play, Mike Karafilidis. Mike, welcome to the Pagcast. Thank you again for coming on.
No problem, Mike. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Earlier on during this pandemic, a lot of people indulged in Netflix. What did you do to keep yourself busy?
lots of Netflix as well. Lots of pretty much hanging around with my son. I have and the wife, of course. I have a son that's going to be 2 years old soon. So just pretty much played with him. Played a lot of peekaboo. That's probably his favorite thing to do. Probably about 4 hours a day of peekaboo, and just hung out with the family and did what I had to do around here. Right, had to keep the family happy and keep the safety precautions going. A lot of Netflix, of course. Watch a lot of movies, which I wouldn't normally watch because you got a lot of time in your hands, right? But that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And what is your favorite movie genre?
Favorite movie right now?
Favorite movie genre, so action, comedy, that stuff.
I like everything. Give me a good action movie, give me a good comedy movie, give me a good horror movie. Unlike the horror movies these days, I don't like the horror movies these days. I think they're all kind of superficial, if you ask me. If you go to the horror movies, say in the 90s or the 80s, like I just watched. I taped them. Jason, Friday the 13th. I don't know if you've ever been to any of those kind of things, right? My wife, she won't even watch them. I just watch them late night when she goes to sleep, right? Otherwise, she'll be freaking out. But anyway, besides that, I'm into those kind of horror movies. Comedies, I love comedy, of course. Who doesn't like a good laugh, right? And dramas, yeah, give me a good drama, and I'll watch anything just as long as I'm indulged in it and I'm good, yeah.
With the NHL action back on, has that brought normalcy back into your life?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, in the beginning with the NHL, when it came back, I was kind of, it's not going to be the same without fans watching it on TV and whatnot. But I got into it, and it took a little time, a little adjustment as a fan to watch it because there is no fans, of course. But the guys are really playing hard. I mean, that are playing in the teams that are playing in the NHL. But it took me a while to get back into it, but I've gotten back into it now and I love it. And yes, it's getting me back into hockey and the NHL, that's for sure.
Well, I just find it very surprising that these players only had 1 week, of development really to get back up to what we expect as fans for playoff performance. And just to say it's short, it's very incredible the amount of work these players put in.
Yeah, absolutely, the work, and you look at it this way too. There hasn't been one positive COVID test too, right? These guys are doing what they're supposed to do. They're staying in the bubble, of course, in Toronto and in Edmonton. And kudos to them, and kudos to the NHL for putting on a great product right now with what they're doing with no COVID tests, of course. Everybody getting tested before they come in, training staff, commentators, whatnot. Just a heck of a job by the NHL. It's been doing great.
Has your whole perception of the coronavirus changed since March?
No. I'm still always going to be on guard. I'm always going to be wearing my mask when I go out. If I have to go somewhere, if I have to go to the store, pretty much, go to the store, go to the gas station, you have to pay, whatnot. Yeah, I'm always going to be wearing my mask. I'm always going to be going 6 feet apart. And you know what? Now I have sanitizer in my car, right? And all the time, I'm always sanitizing and doing what I'm supposed to be doing my part. I don't know if we. We talked about this off air kind of thing, I guess, but if everybody does what they're supposed to be doing, I think hopefully everything should be okay within Ontario at least. And in Canada.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. And in Canada as well, I was going to say.
Getting into your story a bit here, who is your biggest influence for you to go into broadcasting?
Wow, good question. My goodness. There was a lot of people. Bob Cole, of course, the NHL on CBC, whatever. He was the guy pretty much that I grew up with. And I used to watch him and I used to tape myself and commentating games when I was a kid, right? On the old recorder button. And I've always been into commentating, but he would probably be my biggest influence. All the work that he's done with the Leafs. The voice that he has, the delivery. There's a bunch of guys. There's him. I shouldn't say there's him. Uh, there's Pat Foley in Chicago. I'm really a big fan of Pat Foley's as well. I remember listening to him when he was on the radio before, a long time ago. Uh, Joe Bowen, of course, the voice of the Leafs. I mean, man, oh man, if you can't get into him, you can't get into anybody as far as I'm concerned. He's unbelievable, Joe Bowen. Another influence. I mean, there's lots of guys that are influenced that have influenced me growing up, and those are probably the main guys.
What were some of the challenges that you faced early on?
Earlier on, in broadcasting, you're talking
Yeah.
about, right? Okay. Probably getting that position. I mean, it's so hard because you have to keep grinding. Because I'll start off, I mean, with myself, I started off being just a volunteer for Rogers TV, and all I did was camera work, right? I just did camera work just on the side, just fun things, whatnot, a long time ago. And like I said, I always wanted to be a commentator. And I remember one time I said to the Guelph Storm producer, I said, you know what? I go, do you mind if I go up to the booth and sit with these guys and kind of learn, sit beside them kind of thing? And she was like, yeah, no problem, right? And I said, okay, thank you very much and whatnot. And then I went up, talked to them, and one guy up there, really good guy, Steve Fitzsimmons, he's the voice of the Guelph Storm on Guelph Storm TV for Rogers TV. He was up there and, talking to him and, really good guys. And that's when I started to kind of get my feet wet. Well, not really get my feet wet, but just sit beside them. That's where it started. And then I wanted to get into it. And then they gave me a shot doing minor stuff. I mean, doing minor hockey, peewee hockey, doing basketball, doing some basketball, doing some football. I called a couple of OUA games as well for Waterloo, for Rogers TV, or so Waterloo for Laurier on Rogers TV. And then I started filling in, doing all that kind of stuff. And then I started filling in, doing my first fill-in was actually with the Kitchener Rangers. And I give a lot of credit to one of the producers, or is not a producer anymore. His name's Steve Gibson. And he gave me that shot and he said, hey, man, he goes, you know what? Like, you've worked really hard and whatnot, grinded it out. Do you want to step in as a host? Right. I said, yeah, okay, no problem. So I started doing the hosting, and then I moved up to doing color commentary with the Kitchener Rangers. And then I just filled in, though. I was just filling in, like I said. I didn't have that full-time gig. And then I filled in for them. And I learned a lot, of course, through the guys that worked for Kitchener Rangers TV and whatnot, through the industry. And then after that, at Guelph Storm, I did some Guelph Storm stuff. I hosted with the Guelph Storm a couple games. I didn't do any color with the Guelph Storm, but I did do play-by-play with the Kitchener Rangers. Actually, just came to me now. They have that one tournament before the year, which didn't happen this year, obviously, with the Americans teams coming down. It's like a big thing. Saginaw comes, North Bay, whatnot. So I did play-by-play for that, for the OHL. So, yeah, and then I just moved up from there, and then, and then I got the call from the Wolves, and here I am. So, and it's just been unbelievable time with the Sudbury Wolves, that's for sure.
Like you mentioned, it is a complete grind to get to where you are today. How were you able to keep your head up when the going got tough?
Well, you always got to keep your head up, right? I mean, it's not just me, I guess, the way I look at it. It's everybody else too, right? Everybody's got to grind, and especially when things get tough during, what's going on with COVID and whatnot. You always try to better yourself, I guess. And I was always, another thing I did too to try to better myself was I would listen to a lot of my broadcasts. And now you have the time to think back and say, okay, I could have done this better. I could have done this better. I'm always trying to get better. And I'm always, that's how I kept my head up as well. And just thinking positive. You always got to be positive, right? You can never be down on yourself. That's for sure, especially in this business. This is what I've learned so far. Just keep the grind going, and that's pretty much it right there. Yeah.
When people mention the Sudbury Wolves, a lot of people recognize the name of Quinton Byfield, who is a top 3 pick alongside of Tim Stutzla of Alder Mannheim in the DEL and Alexis Lafreniere, as we all know, in the QMJHL. How fortunate are you to call games for a future top 3 pick?
Spoiled. That's the word, spoiled. Big time spoiled. Been spoiled the last couple of years calling Quinton Byfield. I mean, what a player and what a guy. And the guy's a pro. The guy's just a true pro. I mean, comes about, he does his business, and he's very approachable. He's a very, very nice kid. He comes from a very good family. I know his mother and father as well. I see them on the road. Very nice people, but he's got an upside to his game, and it's going to be interesting to see who goes second, him or Stutzel, as you mentioned, of course, from the German league. But if the Kings get Quinton Byfield, they're getting the total package. I think they're getting a more complete player, and you got to remember too that Quinton Byfield is a year younger than most of these guys going into this draft, right? So he's got that full year to get even stronger and faster, right? I mean,
and physically mature.
Absolutely, and physically mature. And that's one thing about Quinton Byfield, to a good point, Mike, that he's very, very mature, and he's very physically mature, and he's getting better with the physical game, and he's just going to get better, right? So I think the Kings, it would be in benefit to them if they pick Quinton Byfield over Stutzel. That's my opinion, at least.
Did Sudbury really face any struggles when Quinton Byfield made the World Junior team?
They did at first. Yeah, they did at first. They weren't winning in the beginning when he was gone to the World Juniors. Of course, the team looked like they're still trying to gel. And then it's interesting that I would call it maybe 2 games before he came back. I can't remember what game it was for the life of me right now, but they played so well, and it was a big comeback it was a big comeback against the Barrie Colts. They were down 4-0 without Quinton Byfield, and 3-0, sorry, and then the Wolves came back to win, I believe, 6-4, and that game was at Barrie, and I think that was the turning point, actually, that little road trip too, because the game before that, Byfield, when he first came back, he got hurt, don't forget as well. He got hurt in Oshawa, and the team really started to come together, and they just played really well.
Kind of like rallying around him.
Big time, yeah. And that's the character of this Sudbury Wolves team. I mean, everybody's got each other's back, from coaching staff, I mean, top of the line, Corey Stillman, Daryl Moxham, Zach Stortini, to management, Rob Papineau, of course, the GM, the vice president of the Wolves, the CEO, Scott Lund. I mean, Dario Zulich, the owner. These guys do a heck of a job keeping everybody together. It's just a team thing, and they rallied around Quinton Byfield, and they really played well. And then when Byfield came back, which was even bonus after his injury, I mean, man, they were just ready to keep that pedal to the metal and make that big run until, of course, we have this unfortunate pandemic.
Quinn Byfield, he wasn't getting the ice time he was used to in Sudbury. Do you expect him to kind of assume a larger role for this year's upcoming World Junior team?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at it this way. Alexis Lafreniere, his year at 17 when he played with Team Canada, right? He didn't really play that much, if you remember, and he had a really, really soft tournament, as they said, and whatnot.
Underperformed to all the hype.
Exactly, right? And so Quinton Byfield, he went in there, but he was a young guy. And don't forget, they had a lot of older guys in that Team Canada team. So Quinton was kind of, I guess you could say, kind of relegated to like, the third, fourth line kind of thing. So the experience that he got, he didn't, I look at it this way. He didn't look down at, say, hey, you know what? I got the third, fourth line. Oh, no, like, I'm not good enough kind of thing, right?
It was a star-studded lineup.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So then, but he didn't look at it in a bad way. He came back to Sudbury, and he just ripped it up, right? After that, and still kept going, right? And that's the type of player he is, with the focus and the intensity that he has. So I expect this year for him to even have a bigger role in this World Junior team, that's for sure, because he's just getting bigger, he's getting stronger, and he's just that kind of guy where he's so mature, and he's just that complete player, and he's going to be unbelievable for Team Canada.
With Quinton being a year younger than most of these draft eligible players, like you mentioned, do you expect him to come back to Sudbury to physically mature and just get more development under his belt?
Good. That's a good question. I I would like to see him come back. Of course, all Sudbury Wolves fans would say the same thing, and Sudbury Wolves broadcasters, of course. We would like to see him come back, but hey, if the Kings think he's ready, then that's up to the NHL team, right? I mean, but I could see him being ready. I could see him coming back to junior. That's all up in the air right now. So that's just a wait and see kind of thing.
You've called Quinton's game since he broke into the league in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
How has his game grown since then?
Well, he's learned how to play the full 200-foot game, Mike. I'll tell you, in the beginning when he first started, and I'll say this all the time to everybody that I talk to, he just pretty much knew how to play offense. He wasn't really that guy that could come back and play defense as well, the full game, right? The full 200-foot game, like I said. So, and he gives a lot of that credit to Corey Stillman. Corey Stillman, of course, former NHLer. I mean, he's won 2 Stanley Cups, right? And one of the best coach in the OHL, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not being biased. Maybe it might be a little bit, but anyway. He learned how to play that 200-foot game, and with him and Daryl Moxham and Zach Stortini did a great job of. Daryl Moxham last year, and even Bud Stefanski, who was assistant coach last year, because it was Zach Stortini's first year this year. But anyway, those 3 last year and these 3 this year have taught him to play that 200-foot game. And Quinton is the type of guy, he will give credit to them for teaching him how to play the 200-foot game. And that's where he's gotten a lot better right now.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and you could put him out in any situation on the ice as well. Like, he could play the penalty kill. They'll put him out there. He's the number 1 guy for the power plays, the number 1 guy when you're 3-on-3, right? I mean, he's the guy, and he's gotten a lot better. Yeah.
Just how important is it to have coaches that have that NHL playoff experience, like you mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Corey Stillman. I'll start off with Corey Stillman. I guess I'll go through the 3 coaches. Corey Stillman, of course, like I just said, he's won 2 Stanley Cups, and he's probably one of the most humblest, nicest guys you ever meet in your life. And he can relate to the players just as much as anybody. Hey, he's tough on them, but he's fair, right? Just like any coach, right?
Yeah.
And he's got that thing in him because, and the players know, like, this is Corey talking. Corey knows what he's talking about. He's unbelievable. And Daryl Moxham, I mean, he didn't make it to the NHL, or our associate coach of the Sudbury Wolves, but he was in the OHL, of course. He played for the Peterborough Petes. Another guy that takes it very, very taught Quinton defense as well. Unbelievable. And, of course, Zach Stortini, his first year as a Sudbury Wolves coach this year. What a job he's done. Such a humble guy, too. You get those minds together, those NHL minds, and they just want to teach the guys. You see them doing video with them one-on-one all the time, especially with Quinton, with everybody, talking to them, telling them what they expect from them, the video, the meetings, the practices. I mean, it's just everything's run at first class with this Wolves team.
Kind of creating like a nucleus in some form.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at Stillman. Stillman, he came aboard. I think this is going to be his 4th year coaching the team, right? When he came aboard, they said they wanted to start a new culture in Sudbury. They wanted to start start a winning culture, get the fans back in the stands and whatnot, right? Sudbury's got probably one of the best fan bases in the OHL. So, Rob Papineau said he wanted to do that. The vice president, GM, as well as owner Dara Zulich and CEO Scott Lund. They said, look, we want to start, getting these guys in and get this guy coaching staff in that knows how to win and can relate with the players. And they hired Stillman. That's been the best thing that's happened for the coaching staff of the Sudbury Wolves for these past 3 years. Ever since he's come aboard, right? I mean, the development of these players has been unbelievable with these guys.
What rookie on the Wolves has really impressed you this year?
Rookie, probably Chase Stillman. On the Wolves. Of course, that's Corey Stillman's son, Chase. He was close to being. He was getting a lot more ice time near the end of the season, kind of thing, and his father was starting to trust him. But the thing is, Corey never treated Chase any differently than he would treat anybody else.
Kind of like a coach's kid is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, he never did. He treated him like he would treat everybody else, and that's the thing, right? And Chase had a great year this year. Lots of man. I don't know if you saw that one play against North Bay. It was probably one of the plays of the year when he just made the North Bay defenseman just look silly. And he went. I don't know if you ever saw that, but it just kind of if you Google that or Google that after YouTube, and I'm sure it's on there. But I expect him to have even a bigger year this year and a bigger part for this Wolves team going in at 17 years old. So he really impressed me this year, Chase Tillman. His maturity too, the way he's able to talk to me, especially in interviews. I always call him the most mature 16-year-old I've ever met in my life. I always say that to him. He just laughs, right? So he's just going to get better.
The Wolves, would have had a playoff spot had the season continued, and I think they would have went up against the Barrie Colts. It was looking like that. How intense would have that series been?
Oh, if they played Barrie, that's a big rivalry, right? I mean, they play the Barrie Colts, I think, 10 times a year, something like that. So not too far away. It's only like three hours away, and that's a big rivalry, and it's always has been in the Central Division. It would have been huge, would have been unbelievable. But no, actually, I think if the first round for the Wolves would have been against the Bulldogs in the first round, they would have been playing. So that would have been pretty good too. Not too far away. But if they played the Colts, man, that would have been unbelievable. That would have been hard hitting, intensity.
Definitely 7 games.
Intensity, possibly, right? Possibly 7 games of intensity, hard hitting, scoring. You would have saw everything probably in that series. So if it got to the Barrie Colts, yeah, guaranteed. I would have loved to see that.
To add to that scoring point there, the OHL does have a high scoring rate. How do you as a broadcaster make sure you don't lose your voice?
That's a good question. Lots of water, buddy. Lots of water, Mike. Lots of water. Fisherman's Friend is my best friend. So I always buy like 2 packages, and I always keep them on the side and stuff. And I pop them like they're candies, right? If I start to feel a little bit of something in my voice, there goes the Fisherman's Friend, and I'm ready to go, right? And lots of water, of course. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Fisherman's Friend is my best friend, that's for sure.
What excites you the most about calling playoff games?
Oh, it's just the intensity, the playoff intensity, the fans. You hear the music when they come onto the ice, the way they hit each other when they're playing. It's just that playoff atmosphere. It's just unbelievable. And once I got, for myself, getting to the arena, I'll talk about last year or the year before, getting to the arena for a playoff game. It's just got that feeling, the smell, of the ice. And you look, I always look on the ice. I think, oh man, like playoffs is happening, right? And it gets you more pumped up. And I like to take
gives you chills
around. Yeah, right. I like to take a little walk around in the beginning to kind of get that feeling, So it's amazing. It's unbelievable.
I know that superstitions always kind of relate to players, but as a broadcaster yourself, do you have any superstitions?
Yes, good one. Yes, I have a superstition with my ties. Okay, I wore this black tie, and the Wolves lost this year. They lost to Mississauga this year, so I was wearing the black tie at the time. I never wore that tie again. So I always oh no, and I even said it on the air. I said I will never wear this black tie again. I said that on the air, and my color guy just started laughing, right? And he said, well, okay, well, we're going to get rid of that, right? Whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I have a couple ties that I wear. It's got to be 2 blue ones. I have one blue one and another blue one that I wear. Other than that, it's always 2 ties. That's it. Because those are the ones they always seem to win with those ties. And I wore a gray tie one time and they lost. So the gray one and the black one, I'll never wear again. But it is time for a wardrobe change this year, just to say. So we'll see.
So what could we expect in that wardrobe change?
New shoes, that's for sure. I'm gonna get rid of the old black ones there to get a pair of nice brown ones. I need a pair of those and a couple more suits. I did have superstition with my suits as well. I only wore 2 suits, and so I'm gonna get a couple more new ones, and I'm looking forward to that. So just to get fitted in and whatnot. So yeah. So
In the last 5 years, the Wolves have only made the playoffs twice. In
Yep.
your perspective, what is missing from their blueprint to have consistent playoff success?
Well, I mean, this. Let's look at it this year. Going into the playoffs, they look to be. Rob Papineau said it, and I'll say it as well. I guess I'll agree with him that he wanted to make the team tougher to play against, right? So he went out and made some good moves this year, or last year, I guess you could say. Now, it still seems like this year, right? But
Yeah, I
anyways,
know. It doesn't feel like it's over.
it doesn't feel like it's over at all. But he made some good moves. I mean, he brought in Picard from Barrie. He brought in Brad Chenier as well, another good player. He brought in those two guys, and unbelievable. They were gritty guys, right? And they really fitted in with this team with Blake Murray, Quinton Byfield, of course, and with everybody, And the defensive core was playing really well. But like I said, yeah, he wanted to add some grit. I think he did. I think going into the playoffs, they were really on that high where they knew that they wanted to be tough to play against. Or they wanted to be tough to play against Rob Papineau. And he did a good job with the guys he acquired. I think they would have made a deep playoff run if it would have happened.
What would it mean for you to be a part of a Sudbury Wolves team that did make the Mem Cup?
Would have meant the world to me. Oh my goodness. I think about that every day. Every day I think about that. Can you imagine? I was at the Mem Cup calling a game, or it just always goes through my head, right? And calling a game for the Wolves, like how awesome would that be? Not just for me, for any broadcaster, right? But I thought about that every day, especially this year in this playoff run, or if we would have went on the playoff run. I thought, you know what, this might happen, right? And you get pumped up, right? So yeah, for sure, it would have been awesome.
What's a typical game day for you?
Typical game day. Good question. I get there 2 hours before the game. I usually am probably one of the first ones there, and unless something is going on with family, of course, or whatnot, or if there's an emergency or with work or whatever, my other job. Yeah, no. So I get there 2 hours before. I'll sit down. I'll grab the media booklet, which they give you in the media room. I'll go through all the names, of course, and I go through my notes. Who's hot, who's not, who's been playing well lately, what's their record in their last 10 games, who's been their guy that's been awesome for plus minus, who's the guy that's been awesome on the penalty kill, whatnot. There's lots of factors that I look into. And then I go right up to the booth, and I plug everything in, I guess you could say, set everything up for the broadcast, for the mixer. And then I do a test on that. And once that is good to go, and then I go back to my research. All it is research. And then about half an hour before the game, I'll go right up to the booth, get all my stuff together. I put it all on the wall. I tape it, tape the important stuff. And then the unimportant stuff, I throw it in the garbage, the unimportant stuff, because you don't want to be you don't want to over prepare, right? You have to have that fine line, I find, which I've learned. And and then ready to go 6:45 or 15 minutes before with the pregame show we always have, and away we go. So I have my coffee there. I got my fisherman friend always on the side there to my left, and I got my water, and that's it. Away we go.
This year with the NHL, they aren't allowing really any media people to be inside the bubble. They're only allowing national media. So, their specific teams are having to make the adjustment to have their commentators call games off monitors.
Right.
How big of an adjustment would that be for you if it were to happen?
Oh, well, yeah, it would be an adjustment, but it would just be, I guess it would be like, since I was a kid, calling the games on TV and recording myself, right? So that probably it right there. But I don't know what they're going to do with the OHL. The plans are still coming. I'm pretty sure that they're going to have commentators. I know the Quebec League, they agreed to have 22% in the stands, right? And you look at it this way: the NHL can do those kind of things, right? And without fans in the stands, I'm talking about. The OHL can't, because it's a gate-driven league, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It's a gate-driven league, and they're going to need as much, in my opinion, exposure to the game with radio and TV. I'm sure they're going to accommodate us, in what fashion, it still remains to be seen. So that's still remains to be seen.
If you were to pitch some ideas to create as normal of a season as possible, what would be some ideas?
Normal season as possible. Well, I would go 50% in the stands. I would go 50 for sure. I would go everybody with mask, of course. And if you're not wearing your mask, I would have double the security. And if you're not wearing your mask, you're out, right? You're gone. That would be probably normalcy right there. I would not sell alcohol, of course, in the stands. I would make it 50%. Just have the food and whatnot. And if everybody does their part with the 50% in the stands, the way I would do it, then I'm sure everything would be okay. And take the temperature at the door. I would do that as well.
You know, one of the special things the CHL does is the teddy bear toss game, a game that us fans, commentators, players do love. You know, how special is it to call those games?
I actually do the road games. So I didn't do the home one when they played Erie. I did the teddy bear toss game when they played Barrie. I think it was Barrie this year. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was Barrie. So it's a long wait and stuff, but it gives you time to talk about things and whatnot. But the teddy bear toss, to be a part of it, it's unreal. And you know that all those bears are going for a good cause as well. That makes it even better, right? You know, so it's unbelievable.
You mentioned that it does take a long time to clean up the bears. How do you yourself as a broadcaster keep the fans engaged?
Oh, well, you talk about the bears. Here comes this kind of a bear. Here comes a teddy bear. Look, you know, there's a Care Bear in there or something, you know, and then you keep the fans engaged and talk about what, you know, like I said, like what organization these bears are going to. Of course, it's always for a good cause. And you look at talk about those kind of things, and you talk about the game, what's going on. When we come back, this is what we're going to, you know, be looking at, and who's playing well right now, and what do the Wolves usually have a segment, you know, kind of like, you know, what do the Wolves have to do better in this period? So I would say, okay, hey, what do the Wolves have to do better right now or what are they doing well at, and what do they have to do better of moving forward in this game? So just kind of keep going on that, and that's where you need a good color commentator, right? If you have a good color commentator with that, then you could just kind of bounce off each other. And so that's probably that would be it right there.
Last question here on the Pagcast. Do you have any advice for aspiring sports broadcasters?
Absolutely. Keep grinding and communicating and just keep doing what you love, and don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your dreams. If your dream is to be a sports broadcaster, don't give up, because if you give up, then that's it. You got to keep grinding in this business, I find. And if you keep grinding, and if you get the people that are going to like you, hey, don't get me wrong. There's going to be people out there that are going to say to you, you know, that don't like you. There's going to be people that like you. There's going to be people that don't like you. Everyone's not going to like you, but you just got to keep grinding, right? And that's the advice I would give to everybody. Just keep grinding, and everything will be fine. Be positive. And that's it. Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to thank Sudbury Wolves play-by-play Mike Karafilidis for joining me on today's podcast. Thank you again, Mike.
Hey, my pleasure, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. Keep safe, buddy.